Slug asks, on a scale of 1 to 10, is ORB a gamer? And Hey everyone, a while back I asked you guys on Patreon, YouTube and Twitter if you had any questions about ORB. Today I will try to answer some of them. Let's get started. A couple people asked if ORB is an object show, and I think so, yeah. I am at least rating it as one, in terms of atmosphere and the approach to the ensemble cast. If you define object shows just by the type of cast, then that's fair too, but also I hope you don't write ORB off just because of that. And it is also an elimination show. Starting next episode, you will be able to vote to influence who leaves the game. Pro asks if the characters will act as though they are in a reality show, with lies and scheming. The game isn't really framed as a reality show. Hopefully how the game is framed should be more clear when episode 2 comes around. But even if the game isn't a reality show, I think there are opportunities for strategy in both the specific rules of the competition and in who are voting as a whole that I am excited to explore. There probably won't be like a lot of blind sides, talk about ratings and stuff like it's ORB drama, not ORB friendship, though. Future Tells asks if the show is going to be a battle for something show, and kinda, episode 2 should make the way the competition works more clearly. Cabbage Kid asks what genre of object show is ORB, and besides the competition stuff, I would say maybe slice of life and adventure, plus comedy in the sense that I hope it's funny. Some people ask what were the inspirations for ORB. I think I would say mostly pre-split BFB, Race the Dimension of Tomorrow, and maybe BoJack Horseman. I am also partially inspired by a concept in a pretty old manga, but I don't remember which one it was or even when I read it. Maybe as the show goes along, people will like bring it up and say, hey, that reminds me of that, and they might be right. Besides that, while they aren't direct inspirations, Pokemon often gets me thinking about creature design, and Adventure Time does the same for like world building and stuff. I'm also sure my love for Infinity Train will come through in some way or another now that I've watched it. A couple people ask what my favorite BFB character was, and it's either Goofball or Donut, I think, probably Donut. A couple people asked how I came up with the idea for ORB. I think around December 2018 I was phasing out a previous project that was beyond my abilities, and I decided I wanted to do an object show. But I didn't want to do one just for the sake of doing one, and began thinking about how I could make something really interesting and different. I believe that a show being surface level different doesn't necessarily make it good, and I don't think the existence of creatures in ORB makes the show compelling by itself. So when I say different here, I mean in terms of ideas, themes, storytelling, and so on. I think there's still a lot that hasn't been explored within the familiar game show backdrop, so I knew I wanted to do a competition in some capacity because I really like competitions. I really like competitions as settings. I think they can like offer interesting ideas and stuff. I thought about what I like in stories and what stories I wanted to tell, and I remembered how I love when shows have worlds that feel lived in and feel like they exist beyond the main characters and episodes. So that was the starting point. Instead of a show where a group of people seek out a competition, it's a show where the game comes to them and disrupts their already existing lives and routines. From there, building the concept was an iterative process. I would ask myself what were the consequences of what I had so far, and then I would explore those consequences, which in turn expanded the world. I would also ask myself what conscious structural decisions could enhance what I already had, and then I would repeat the process. I think designing a concept really is about that. Your starting point doesn't need to be stellar, you just need to build on it organically and steer it in interesting ways as you think about the natural outcome of what you have so far. Episode 1 was built towards the purpose of making the world and characters feel like they existed prior to the show, and I hope that it was at least slightly achieved. I am excited to show more of the world in the future and to continue improving the show as we go. As Comics asks if there's a storyboard for ORB 1, and yes, here's a panel from it. It's super outdated, and there were some pretty big changes when I transcribed their board into a script format, but the storyboard exists. If time and budget allows, I will try to get a video out showing it. Flaming Glue asks which took the longest in production, and it was definitely animation. Other sections can be slow at times, but animation is a consistent bottleneck since it's really time consuming until you learn how to be fast, and it's also the hardest thing to do while working at a full-time job in my opinion. For storyboarding and audio, you can sit down after work, chip away at it, and come out feeling like you've accomplished something, but with animation I feel like it's easier to feel unproductive. It's fun but also scary. 2_Ina asks if I have any tips on animating, and I'd say it's always good to study other animation. Like go frame by frame on videos on YouTube, download the BFB flash files to look at how they work. I think it's a good move to focus on learning spacing and timing first before you learn anything else though. I also want to release the ORB flash files at some point in the future if possible as well. Though the current ones have spoilers for episode 2, as long as a couple of other problems, so I will have to take some time to really go through the flash files and clean them up and stuff like that, which isn't my priority at the moment since my priority is working on episode 2. Lemon Breakfast asks what's my favorite character to voice and or animate, I really like animating boxcars, Swirl, and Jackie and Boxy, I think. Though I am still learning animation, so I might change my opinion down the road. For voices, I think Loop is the most fun, alongside Citrus Noises, but I also really like voicing A. R Factor Gaming asks if there was an order to the dates each character was made, and yes, they were roughly designed in the order of this picture, left to right. The first attempt at the cast stopped at Magma Hand, but then I decided I wanted more variety and characters a while later, and so I made the rest of them. The answer to the question about how I came up with the characters got very big very fast, even without getting too much into each character, so I'll actually answer that one in a different video down the line, sorry. I wanted to mention the question here, so people didn't think I forgot about them, because they are generally interesting and got me thinking a lot about character design, but then that question would really be like the majority of this video. Some people asked about why the characters have odd names, and I know object shows usually have literal names, but I think names can actually be like a fun play space to let the characters dictate how they want to be addressed. Each character sees different meaning in their names, and in how much they deviated from the more obvious choices. And some names without an obvious explanation or pun may just have been part of the character's life. Think of it as like the characters chose their own names, essentially. Jay Flamestar asks if some characters have references to other things. No Clock is directly inspired by the Salvador Dali painting The Persistence of Memory, and Robert Flower's name started as a robot flower from BFB joke. I think those are the big ones from the characters shown so far, besides one detail that would technically be spoilers at the moment. But we'll get to that soon. V and Pip didn't originally have the outlines, but they were planned to be like more sprite animated and more pose-to-pose, so the outlines are definitely inspired by Paper Mario, but less in a reference sense and more like, that's a cool visual technique, let's use that. Some people asked about pronouns, and overall I think object shows are a really good place to explore gender and identity topics. The characters aren't humans who have genders forced upon them at birth, so we can skip a lot of the initial expectations and restrictions given to the characters by society, and just allow the characters to explore and adopt the identity they feel most comfortable with. It's worth reminding people that pronouns don't necessarily equal gender, and that people can be comfortable with multiple sets of pronouns. If a character was shown as she/they in the episode, that just means you can address them with both they/them and she/her pronouns. A couple of people ask if Orb is the host, and Orb is the host, yeah. Slug asks, on a scale of 1 to 10, is Orb a gamer? Okay, so which side of the scale is the highest one? Okay, so pick that side and then go to the other extreme. I don't think Orb is a gamer, though I do think they appreciate the aesthetic of some games and goes wowee when they see others playing. Pokey asks which Orb is Zoe's favorite, and currently I would say the red one. The red one's patterns appeal to him more. Eli asks, what would Club Zoans and the sandwiches Boxcars owes her? Chisps. Sammy asks if the secret garden is really a secret, if people know where it is, and that's what Robert Flower keeps telling people so they stop bugging him. But they won't, they keep bugging him. Yuri from Patreon asks what is Robert Flower's pedo care routine, and don't tell anyone, but it rhymes with his middle name. KD Coney asks what is Gumdrop's favorite Kevin MacLeod song, and he pretends it's Ouroboros. He wishes it was Pangea, and it's probably like wallpaper. A couple of people also asked how will Earth compete, and it depends on the challenge. And Gibberish has a better question that what happens if Earth gets eliminated, and I feel like anything I say here will get people to try and eliminate Earth the first time she goes up for elimination. But yeah, if she's eliminated, you'll find out, essentially. There's no other answer than that. Ocean Eyes 137 from Patreon asks who I think is the cutest creature from ORB, and in an ironic twist of fate, Citrus is the fuzziest. Personality-wise though, I am unsure, and I think maybe someone who hasn't been shown yet, actually. Triforce Animation asks which ORB contestants I love. There are a few contestants I still have a little trouble writing and figuring out the specifics of how they work, but overall I think I really love them all. The answer a while back might have been a little different though. Recently I wrote something like involving a character I was a little unsure about, and I started to like them more essentially. I am also looking forward to your recommendation. Since it's been a while, I will probably close recommendations for episode 1 soon, and go through the comments picking out some creature prompts that could generate fun creatures. Recommending will still be available through Patreon though, link in the description if anyone's interested. A couple of people asked if there are more characters that haven't been shown yet, and besides Bones, Stump and Yaw, which we briefly saw in episode 1, there are a bunch of characters that haven't been shown yet, yeah. One of the goals with ORB is to have a constantly growing world, so expect some new faces throughout the season. Lorenzo asks if the characters that didn't have any lines in ORB 1 will be voiced by non-object show voice actors. The voices for Stump and Bones have actually already been decided and reviewed as a bonus for the Patreon server. There will be more characters in the future, and I'd be interested in getting different voices if some voice actors end up being an interest. but it's worth remembering that ORB is an amateur project that at the moment isn't even monetized on YouTube. So it's a little harder to actively seek out known names if the pig isn't that high, really. Ferret Bandit asks how I plan on dividing screen time between characters, and I definitely want every character to have their chance to shine, though that doesn't necessarily mean they'll all get the same amount of focus, because some characters are more active while some are more introverted, and some stories are more dynamic while others are more subtle and introspective. I do have a personal sheet where I keep track of how many relevant actions each character has in the finished episodes, and that will probably help guide me a bit starting with episode 3, so there's not like a massive imbalance, like 5 or 10 episodes in. Noah C asks if there will be an intro, and yes, starting with episode 2 there will be an intro. I am really excited to make it and show it to you guys. Some people asked if there will be more episodes. There will be more episodes, yeah. Episode 2 is being worked on whenever I get some free time from my full-time job, and a couple of other things are in planning. You can get progress updates and catch sneak peeks by supporting the show on Patreon. Droid Top Hat asks if there's gonna be a season 2 when I finish the current season, and I'm unsure at the moment. It really depends on where the characters are at as we get closer to the end, and if there's more to explore of those characters. I'm not entirely against making a new season, but it's too early to tell. So for the time being, it's more likely they'll do like extra things like shorts, rather than thinking about a full blown out sequel at the moment. Droid Top Hat asks if I would ever make a plushie for someone in the cast, and maybe down the line, yeah. I think some characters will make for really good plushies, but also that's currently outside of the show's current reach and scope for now. Dealing with merch also seems kinda scary, to tell the truth. Staplet asks what's my favorite food, and it's sushi, but I don't get to have it a lot, so maybe pizza with pepperoni and cream cheese. Alternatively, Six Burger. Okay, that's all the questions for now. I might answer some like Twitter or something later. Hopefully they were at least a little bit informative, and that this process was fun. It was fun for me to answer, surprisingly really difficult, but overall really fun, and I would be up for doing this more in the future as we go along with the show. But yeah, thank you for watching, thank you so much for 1,000 subscribers. I will make a dedicated video down the line, thanking for all the support, because the response was a lot more positive than I expected, a lot more fast than I expected to. There's really no words, thank you all so much for watching ORB 1, and I can't wait to continue working on ORB 2. But yeah, see ya!